Hello everyone, welcome to episode 54 of the EMDR Doctor podcast. I'm Dr. Caroline Lloyd. One of the most notable sentences that has ever been said to me in my career as a GP was this: I don't do friends. This was not a mental health consult, although possibly it should have been. I can't even remember what we were discussing, but somehow the topic of friends came up and my patient told me quite calmly but very determinedly, I don't do friends. And I remember being quite shocked by this and not following it up at all, just moving on to another topic. But that declaration has stayed with me for, maybe about 10 years. Maybe it's because it was fairly removed from my own experience, but also because somehow I can really relate. I can see or maybe feel how hard sometimes friendships can be, how they can be too painful, they're too not worthwhile, too uncertain, too risky, too hard to follow up on. And I can honestly see how this patient was a really accomplished, polished person, very well respected in their field. And I could imagine how they would relate in a professional realm with confidence and authority and charm. They didn't lack interpersonal skills. That was not the issue. They had made a decision not to invest in that area of their life. So what leads someone to this? And how can we exist without friends? Obviously, yes, we can, but my inkling is that it may well be a bit more of an existence and less of a fully rounded, enjoyable life. For those of you who listened to my last podcast, it was all about how best to enjoy your retirement, and it was all about connectedness. So why would someone choose not to? I'm pretty sure the answer is trauma. Of course, because I'm a trauma therapist. But there are a couple of other possibilities. Neurodivergence is very definitely one of them. Being neurodivergent in a normative world can be hard, really hard, and pretending to be neurotypical or masking can be absolutely exhausting. And maybe some people choose to conserve their energy and not mask, not perform, and not participate in the friend-making activities that might seem necessary. Going out drinking, the public places, the polite chit-chat, massaging people's egos, keeping other people comfortable. If someone has spent a lot of their life performing and trying to be liked, trying to fit in, trying to keep others comfortable, then friendships just become work. Every interaction carries the unspoken pressure to do the right thing, to smile at the right time, to manage other people's emotions. And this is especially common in people who grew up in environments where love was conditional, where they were praised for being helpful or quiet, but not being themselves, not being their own quirky, authentic selves. So as adults, they might choose solitude as a way to rest, to stop performing, to exist without constantly monitoring the reactions of others. So being able to relax and be yourself may be more important than connection for some people, even at some stages of their lives. Solitude may also be a choice that reflects values. Perhaps creativity or nature or a spiritual practice might be more aligned with a person's values than socializing. Choosing fewer or even no friendships could be an act of authenticity, a way of honouring one's natural rhythm rather than forcing themselves into a mould that doesn't fit. It's worth remembering that solitude and loneliness are not the same thing. One can be deeply content in your own company. But what I worry about is that the no friends policy may be one that is conceived out of pain. If we have been bullied, if we have been shunned or shamed as a child, if we believe that we are not worth being friends with, or that other people are scary or frightening, or that friends hurt us, betray us, or demean us, that's when the trauma of past relationships is worth healing. If distance from other people is not about authenticity, but it is about safety, then maybe we can find a way to dismantle those negative beliefs about self. Reduce the power of, I'm bad, I'm not worthy of friends, people hurt me, no one wants to be friends with me, so why should I try? We can reduce the distress of the past, find some more nourishing, adaptive beliefs which might allow some experimentation with connection and with friendships again. And this is definitely trauma work, the trauma of hurtful friendships, and so well worth doing. Very often, especially for women, the trauma does not look like big T trauma. It looks more like a million paper cuts. Or actually, often with girls and bullying, it looks like a million microaggressions. Girls often bully by exclusion, by little comments, even one word or a raised eyebrow, the slightest little sneer or exhalation. Anyone who has observed groups of girls at work within the social hierarchy know this. For those of us who have been on the receiving end of it, we know it very well. For kids who have trauma at home and then trauma at school, there is no safe place and no safe people, and friendships can be just too hard to attempt. And it's actually quite remarkable how often I work with bullying with my EMDR clients. Sometimes, as a result of the work that we do, the ability to be authentic can really increase. And, just a warning here, sometimes the people-pleasing adaptation to the trauma can also ebb away. And so, as a result of this, so can many friendships. If friendships are based on this kind of dynamic where one person does all the work of the relationship and one person does all the receiving, if the balance shifts and that person no longer wants to put in all the effort to maintain that friendship, then the friendship may not survive. So sometimes trauma work results in the short term, less friends. If the friends who are takers, who are not putting in the emotional energy and effort into the relationship, if they see that they are not going to get what they always took for granted, then they may drift away. So in the short term, sometimes EMDR and the resolution of trauma and the resolution or the ebbing away of that people-pleasing trauma response can actually result in some unexpected results. But I would hope that the loss of this not so great friendship, the loss of this one-sided, unequal friendship, can open up some room for some more equal, more giving, more nurturing friendships. And the more confidence we have in our own deservedness, in our own goodness, the more able we are to extend ourselves and open ourselves up to new, better friendships, more equal connections, clearer boundaries, and more authenticity in our connections, and eventually more happiness. That's the goal of the trauma work. So this is how I would use EMDR to address that problem of I don't do friends. So I'd love to hear your experiences, either of your EMDR journey or maybe something that I've said relates for you today. So please feel free to comment below if you're watching on YouTube, or send me an email at admin@therapynest.com.au if you would like to explore this a little bit for yourself and work with me. I am also about to open up some spots in my week for consultation for EMDR therapists. So if you happen to be an EMDR therapist and you are looking for consultation, perhaps shoot me an email and we can figure out some times to suit. All right, I hope that's been helpful. I will talk to you again next week. In the meantime, take good care. Bye for now.